Hi guys, I wanted to get one chapter in before it gets super dark out. So here we are. Put that away. Sticky notes as your chapter, your bookmarks. I mean, so great. So we're on chapter 9, Doc Spencer, and we're reading Roald, it's Danny the Champion of the World by Roald, illustrations by Quentin Blake. And we're starting on page 76. Yes, so chapter 9, page 76, Doc Spencer. My father once told me that Doc Spencer had been looking after the people of our district for nearly 45 years. He was over 70 now and could have retired long ago, but he didn't want to retire, and his patients didn't want him to either. He was a tiny man with tiny hands and feet and a tiny brown face. The face was brown and wrinkled and shriveled. Oh, okay. The face was brown and wrinkled as a shriveled apple. He was some sort of elf, I used to think to myself each time I saw him, a very ancient sort of elf, with wispy white hair and steel-rimmed spectacles. A queer, clever little elf, with a swift eye and a flashing smile, and a fast way of talking. Nobody feared him. Many people loved him, and he was especially gentle with children. I don't remember his accent. Which ankle? He asked. The left one, my father said. Doc Spencer knelt on the floor and took from his bag a pair of large scissors. Then, to my astonishment, he proceeded to slip the cloth of my father's left trouser leg right up to the knee. He parted the cloth and looked at the ankle, but he didn't touch it. I looked at it too. The foot seemed to be bent around sideways, and there was a huge swelling below the ankle bone. That's a nasty one, Dr. Spencer said. We'd better get you into the hospital right away. May I use your phone? He called the hospital and asked for the ambulance. Then he spoke for an ambulance. Then he spoke to someone else about taking x-rays and doing an operation. How's the pain? Dr. Spencer said. Would you like me to give you something? I'm just going to give him like an Irish accent. No. Wait. Operation? No, my father said. Oh, wait till I get there. As you wish, William. How on earth did you do it? Did you fall down the steps of that crazy caravan? Not exactly, my father said. No. The doctor waited for him to go on, so I did. As a matter of fact, he said slowly, I was mooching around up in Hazel's wood. He paused again and looked at the doctor, who was still kneeling beside him. Ah, the doctor said. Yes, I see. What's it like up there these days? Plenty of pheasants? Stacks of them, my father said. It's a great game, Dr. Spencer said, sighing a little. I only wish I was young enough to have another go at it. He looked up and saw me staring at him. You didn't know I used to do a bit of poaching myself, did you, Danny? No, I said, absolutely flabbergasted. Many a night, Dr. Spencer went on. After evening surgery was over, I used to slip out the back of the door, go striding over the fields to one of my secret places. Sometimes it was pheasants and other times it was trout. Plenty of big brown trout in the stream in those days. He was still kneeling on the floor beside my father. Try not to move, he said to him. Lie quite still. My father closed his tired eyes and opened them again. Which method did you use for pheasants? He asked. Gin and raisins, Dr. Spencer said. I used to soak the raisins in gin for a week, then scatter them in the woods. It doesn't work, my father said. I know it doesn't, the doctor said, but it was enormous fun. One single pheasant, my father said, has got to eat at least 16 gin-soaked raisins before he gets tiddly enough for you to catch him. My own dad proved that with roosters. I believe ya, the doctor said. That's why I never caught any. But I was hot stuff with trout. Do you know how to catch trout, Danny, without using a rod and line? No, I said. How? You tickle 'em. Tickle him? Yes, the doctor said. Trout, you see, like to lie close in to the river bank. So you go creeping along the bank until you see a big one, and you come up from behind him and you lie down on your tummy. And then slowly, very slowly, you lower your hand into the water behind him and you slide in underneath him, and you bend to stroke his belly and down with the tip of one finger. Here's the doctor. I keep forgetting to show you guys. And then, oh wait, that's the wrong picture. Here's the doctor. And here's him tickling the trout. And next page. Will he really let you do that? I asked. He loves it, the doctor said. He loves it so much he sort of dozes off. And as soon as he dozes off, you quickly grab a hold of him and flip him out of the water onto the bank. That works, my father said, but only a great artist can do it. I take my hat off to you, sir. Thank you, William, Dr. Spencer said gravely. He got up off his knees and crossed over to the door of the workshop and looked out to see if the ambulance was coming. By the way, he said over his shoulder, what happened out there in the woods? Did you step into a rabbit hole? It was a slightly bigger hole than that, my father said. What do you mean? My father began to describe how he had fallen into the enormous pit. Dr. Spencer spun around and stared at my father. I don't believe it, he cried. It's perfectly true. Ask Danny. It was deep, I said, horribly deep. But great heavens alive, the doctor shouted, jumping up and down with fury. He can't do that. Victor Hazel can't go digging traps in the woods for human beings. I've never heard such a disgusting, monstrous thing in my whole life. It's rotten, my father said. It's worse than that, William. It's diabolic. Do you know what it means? It means that decent folk like you and me can't even go out and have a little fun at night. Okay, he just changed to British. Without risking a broken leg or arm. We might even break our necks. My father nodded. I never did like that Victor Hazel. I'm sorry, guys. It just changed. I can't hold an Irish accent. So I was lucky for how long it lasted. Doc Spencer said, I saw him do a filthy thing once. What? My father asked. He had an appointment with me at my surgery. He needed an injection of some sort. I've forgotten what. Anyway, just by chance I was looking out the window as he drove up to my door in his whacking great Rolls Royce. I saw him getting out, and I also saw my old dog Bertie dozing on the doorstep. And do you know what this loathsome Victor Hazel did? Instead of stepping over the dog, he actually kicked him out of the way with his riding boot. He didn't, my father said. Oh, yes, he did. What did you do? I left him sitting on the waiting room while I picked out the oldest, bluntest needle I could find. Then I rubbed the point of it on a nail file to make it blunter still. By the time I got through with it, it was blunter than a ballpoint pen. Then I called him in and I told him to lower his pants and bend over. And when I rammed the needle into his fleshy backside, he screamed like a stuck pig. Hooray! My father said. He's never been back since, the doctor said, for which I am truly thankful. Oh, there's the ambulance. The ambulance drew up near the workshop door, and two men in uniform got out. Bring me a leg splint, the doctor said to one of the men. One of the men fetched a sort of thin wooden plank from the ambulance. Dr. Spencer knelt down once more beside my father and eased the plank very gently underneath my father's leg. Then he strapped the leg firmly into the plank. The ambulance man brought in a stretcher and placed it on the ground. My father got onto it by himself. I was still sitting on my chair. Dr. Spencer came over to me and put a hand on my shoulder. I think you had better come on home with me, young man, he said. You can stay with us till your father's back from the hospital. Won't he come home today? I asked. Yes, my Yes, my father said. I'll be back this evening. I'd rather you stayed in for the night, Dr. Spencer said. I shall come home this evening, my father said. Thank you for offering to take Danny, but it won't be necessary. He'll be all right here until I get back. I reckon he'll sleep most of the day anyway. Won't you, my love? I think so, I said. Just close up the filling station and go to bed, right? Yes, but come back soon, won't you, Dad? They carried him into the ambulance and the stretcher and closed the door. I stood outside the workshop with Doc Spencer and watched the big white thing drive up the filling station. Do you need any help? Dr. Spencer said. I'm fine, thank you. Go to bed then, and get a good sleep. Yes, I will. Call me if you need anything. Yes. The marvelous little doctor got back into his car and drove away down the road in the same direction as the ambulance. That is the end with a final picture. That's the end of chapter 9, and we'll be moving on to chapter 10, which starts on page 84. So thank you for listening. Chapter 10 will be the Great Shooting Party. Yes, thank you. I will see you guys next time. Find anyone who would be interested in this and give this channel a shout out. We want people who love books here. It's not just to, become huge or anything. It's so that people who enjoy books can find them, and maybe you can't always sit down and read, but maybe you want to go for a run and listen to a book. So tell other people that you know would be interested, and thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys for the next chapter or next book that you're moving on to. Bye for now.